Okay, so what was planned as a quick news video has seemingly ballooned. Follow me at Twitter at FoxyGames_UK, where I tend to drop a lot of juicy rumors and stuff that's out there rather than commit to a video, simply because some people just cannot seem to tell the difference between other people's rumors that I might simply be reporting on, like the pre-launch, ever-changing PS5 T-flop rumors ranging from 11 T-flops, 13 T-flops, 18 T-flops, 20 T-flops, when it was I who reported the actual GPU spec 10 T-flops like 2 or 3 years before PS5 even launched. So yeah, I decided to not include all rumors in videos for that reason, because I will not be held accountable for other people's BS. Though on the mainstream game news media side, it's been a pretty average week, let's be honest. That doesn't mean there isn't any news though. Here are some of the smaller headlines. Sony's big PlayStation exclusive God of War Ragnarok is in the final stretch and heading to gold status. Gold denoting the game is getting ready to print a Blu-ray disc and added back end to the PlayStation Store for obligatory pre-order and later accessibility countdown timer. Speaking of accessibility, PlayStation shared God of War Ragnarok will include around 60 accessibility options. Santa Monica Studio has detailed customizable subtitles, audio cues, high contrast mode, and more. On the PlayStation blog, there's a link in the video's description. Sony promised there's more to come, and hope you've enjoyed a look into this section of the 60 plus accessibility features that will be included in God of War Ragnarok. Sony go on to say it is committed to improving accessibility and customization for everybody, and can't wait to share details about other categories of accessibility features like combat and aim assist, puzzle minigame assists, HUD adjustments, camera tuning, and auto pickups. And Sony say they'll be sharing more as we get closer to launch. Happy Global Accessibility Awareness Day. Something Microsoft has excelled in with its controller and other accessibility innovations. There's a ton of options just in the accessibility tab though, something that's usually added pretty late in the development cycle. Interesting. Now the 2021 footage looks drastically improved in 2022, leading to speculation that the 21 footage was PS4 Pro, and the current images going around are from the PS5 version, which looks really head and shoulders above anything we've seen on the game so far. Safe to say, when gamers finally get their hands on the highly anticipated sequel to 2018's stunning PS4 God of War, with a release date of later in 2020, my guess is mid to late September. So are you hyped for God of War Ragnarok? Sound off in the comments, boys and girls. In other news, fans of the ancient Egypt-based Assassin's Creed Origins is receiving an update 1.60 due to be deployed next week. Among other things, the key addition is the enabled higher frame rate when running on a PlayStation 5. That's right, Assassin's Creed Origins joins Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Valhalla in offering players a 60 frame per second option. Fantastic news for fans of the game. And The Last of Us Remake is heavily rumoured to release this year, according to various sources, though some of you may remember that I reported on The Last of Us Remake ages ago. Still, it's nice the mainstream are slowly validating the initial rumours. Now there's a lot of coverage on this, though I randomly picked VideoGameChronicle.com. The outlet covered the story, reporting that The Last of Us Remake is reportedly likely to be released in 2022. Multiple reports have suggested the unannounced game is nearly complete. Now, a prominent journalist has backed up previous reports that a Last of Us Remake for PS5 will be released in 2022. Here's a quote. "I keep hearing that it's coming out this year," GamesBeat reporter Jeff Grubb said on the latest episode of the Kinda Funny Games cast. He went on to say that The Last of Us Remake is coming this holiday. "I'm pretty confident about that too." End of quote. Now, unsurprisingly, Grubb gets the credit on many rumors from various sources and leakers that long preceded any input he had. Not to say it's Grubb's fault, it's just the way it seems to play out, and I guess he's seen as more credible regardless as to whether he is the originator of said rumor. Still, the remake is real. Just so you know, The Last of Us Remake is a reworking of the original PS3 game and may not feel or play exactly like the original release, seamlessly merging the Left Behind DLC with far more exposition. Some cuts that were made due to PS3 technical issues are said to be reintroduced to the game and should look even more phenomenal than the sequel. Now, The Last of Us Remake is being tipped to be PS5's big holiday release this year. Not too shabby, huh? So on the main news of the video, and before we get into it, I need to stress the following information is very early and of course subject to change. Now there are two new PS5 consoles being planned. The first, likely the PS5 we get our hands on sooner, is a revision with no extra juice to the hardware, more of a cost-cutting measure and redesign. Here's what I've heard. Now, I've been told there's going to be a PS5 redesign with a slightly smaller form factor. Apparently the external SSD bay will be far easier to access, suggesting it could be accessible from the base or side of the unit as opposed to removing the unit's shell. Many gamers are not particularly confident in applying the SSD, so this could be a great idea. Now, the SoC, that system on chip, is said to be moving from the current 7nm process to a 5nm process, though by the time this new revision is complete and available, it's entirely possible we could have moved over to 3nm, though cost could be an issue, and it also depends on when Sony lock down the specs, which you kind of have to do years in advance. Now, I've been informed the chip manufacturing Goliath TSMC are expected to move to 3nm by next summer, so yeah, it largely depends on pricing, timing and cost to the consumer. This is planned for fourth quarter of 2023, the first quarter of 2024 though. Like everything in the tech world, this is also subject to change. Now the second new PS5 in the works, yes, you've guessed it, the PS5 Pro. And I kind of wish I was joking, but this is actually being planned. Apparently it's really 4K 60 this time, but that's not the most interesting part. PS5 Pro is said to be capable of true 8K video and content. I'm not sure if that includes gaming, but actual native 4K at 60 FPS with ray tracing enabled, and 1440p to 1800p at 120 FPS with limited or no ray tracing. But here's the crazy part. 1080p/1440p with no ray tracing, but allows for an unlocked frame rate to support up to 240Hz displays. Though in my opinion, it won't actually push 240 frames per second, so forget about it. But support 240Hz displays simply because you need a pretty hefty CPU upgrade in order to achieve this, and it really isn't worth the extra investment to the end user until 240Hz panels become the standard at some point in the future. Now the retail unit could have anything from 18 to 24 GB of RAM, featuring a dual butterfly GPU configuration and a faster CPU, though I don't have many details on this yet. Stand by for a future video. I've heard some pretty outlandish specs though from elsewhere, not from anyone I'm speaking to, and that PS5 Pro could use the RDNA 3 feature set. Here's the PS5 Pro and Slim spec rumor that has nothing to do with me or anyone I've spoken to, so take it however you will. In terms of raw GPU power, PS5 Pro 24 T-flops to 36 T-flops, which is ballpark, featuring RDNA 3 technology. Now the PS5 Slim is 10.3 T-flops, much like the current PS5, still featuring RDNA 2 and a 3nm fabrication process on both. Now in terms of RAM, PS5 Pro could feature 24GB GDR6 or GDDR6 rather, with more bandwidth, possibly 512 gigabits per second. Now PS5 Slim is 16GB of GDDR6 with a res and FPS target for the Pro, dynamic 8K 30 with no RT and 4K 60 with full RT. It all seems very expensive to produce and thus sell to the end user, and a little far-fetched, if not bloated. But yeah, I just cannot verify any of this. It's not my info, so a massive grain of salt. But this all feels a lot like the time when I had all the PS4 Neo/PS4 Pro details and the early 10 T-flop PS5 provisional spec videos I put out years in advance. Though I am not at all interested in buying mid-gen upgrades, I know a lot of you will be, so I'm going to cover any new info I get with the same passion I did back in the PS4 Neo days. Whatever the PS5 Slim revision and PS5 Pro model eventually become, Sony are targeting these systems for release in approximately 24 to 36 months from now. Respectively, you have to imagine Microsoft is also beavering away on its own Xbox Series X and S revisions and equivalent Pro model. Perhaps we'll see the PS5 Professional and Xbox Series X Elite models at some point in late 2024. Though, what say you? Let's continue the discussion cordially in the comments. Go ahead, sound off, share your thoughts and opinions on today's news, as that brings us to the end of the video. But subscribe for more gaming news, rumor and speculation, even if some of it seems a bit wild. Hit the like button and yes, hit the notification bell so we don't miss each other, and you can help Foxy Games UK reach more gamers, so feel free to share the video. You may also want to consider supporting Foxy Games UK via Patreon. We're like family now, so thank you, and you can find a link in the video description. But that concludes our time together today. Thanks for hanging out with me on this Friday. Until next time, play games, not corporations.